in Beijing for me, it was the one day where the Chinese had to shoot something into the atmosphere to release the smog that they'd kept back behind the clouds, however they did that. But they could effectively control the weather. And in the warm-up area for the final, an official came round the warm-up area and said it's going to rain at 7:27 p.m. And my final started at 7:20 p.m. and I was, I think, 7th to throw. So I said to my coach, well, we've got one throw and that's it. And because I knew it was going to rain, and it did rain at 7:27 p.m. And effectively, one throw of mine took 4.5 seconds. So I basically had 4.5 seconds to prove, I guess, up to that point, about 12 years of work. But I managed to throw a British record, the furthest I'd ever thrown in my career, a personal best, but also the furthest to ever be thrown in Olympic history by somebody finishing outside the medals. I'd never really been a medal contender, and I think that probably got to me. And I said to my coach, I said, right, I need to do something about this. So I guess as a human being, you need certainty. I guess it's one of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so I said, right, I've got to be able to throw over 60 metres in the first round, and I want an average of over 63, because if you do that, it's usually over 60 to make an Olympic final, and then if you're going to throw around, well, back then 63 odd metres, you're going to be in and around medals. So that was my focus for every single competition going into the Olympic final. He was always like, well, surely you want to throw as far as you can, and I was like, well, I'm trying to do that as well, but I need to know that I can perform when I have to, and it completely worked. We looked at the averages in the qualifying round. I think I threw 60.97 and then 62.97, exactly the average that I wanted to. So certainly in field events or any closed skill like gymnastics field events, it generally goes to averages. So yeah, you're just trying to create as much certainty as possible in a chaotic environment.
I started gymnastics at the age of 7. I didn't really have an ambition to be a world or Olympic medalist. I just did gymnastics because I loved flipping around and being upside down, so my mum and dad wanted to get rid of the energy. I was probably about 17, 18, and one of the Romanian coaches went and spoke to Amanda and kind of said, what is it that keeps Beth going in the sport? And she could quite honestly say it was because she loves what she does. Every day I went in the gym wanting to strive to be better. I loved performing. Competing was the best part for me. Obviously training I enjoyed, but 30 hours a week with injuries and stuff was quite difficult. But being able to go out in front of an audience was what really drove me. I just loved basically being a show-off. So going to Europeans in 2002, no real medal expectations. They were hoping that I would hopefully scrape a final, which I did, and that was celebrations all round, and then it was a case of go and enjoy it. There's no expectation. Suddenly found myself on the medal podium there, and that changed my whole philosophy, my whole belief, not only for myself but my coach. It was suddenly about actually you're not just striving to be the best in Britain now, you're striving to kind of achieve world and European medals. You would always think the Olympic final would be the most nerve-wracking day of your life, but actually everything just kind of fell into place. I did my warm-up, it all went to plan, did my routine. But when I walked into that stadium, the amount of noise and support for every Team GB athlete was just insane. I've never experienced the amount of children with banners, the flags, it just gives you goosebumps thinking about it. Stand on an Olympic podium in front of a home crowd, seeing your flag raising with the Olympic rings popping out underneath it, it was a dream come true. So the reason I've done this course is I feel like I was when I was 7 years old in the gym. There's so much to learn, and yes, Steve's a great mentor, but I actually wanted to be able to come and learn for myself, get the theory behind it, so that when my staff or people are asking me questions, I'm not kind of blagging the answer. I've actually got the theory behind it.
I was given the opportunity to go on some funding and train with the Olympic champion Denise Lewis at the time. I took that opportunity. And then from those 9 months from giving up my job, I won an Olympic medal. So I suppose the story is that I had an opportunity and I took it and ran with it, because those opportunities don't come very often, and I thought, well, I'm going to be half in my salary. So I took that gamble and it paid off. And I haven't had a proper job since. So that was like 14 years ago. My coach was Dutch and he was very powerful with his words. He was quite passionate. He was quite ruthless. He was a dictator. But he knew how to get the best out of the athletes that he worked with. And I suppose today in sport, in terms he would be classed as a bully. I didn't see him as a bully, I still don't. I just felt he was very passionate about what he did and it just sometimes came out wrong. So when I went into the Olympics, the final event in the heptathlon in Athens, I was, I think, 56 points off potentially winning silver. So when I came off the track, you go to a press conference to talk about the performances, and my coach in front of all the world's media called me a wimp for not going hard enough for the 800 metres. So when I got my medal, I had loads of tears in my eye. They weren't because I was happy, it's because my coach just called me a wimp. But what I learned from that is I did make a mistake. I had an error. I just realised mentally I wasn't strong enough, so I had to work on that. Every year since, I never let that 800 metres lose me points, lose me medals, lose me positions. If not, I gained. So then it became my most powerful event, and then I became one of the fastest 800 metre runners in the world in the heptathlon. So I learned from that experience, because I think that was the key thing. From that failure, well, it wasn't a failure, I won a bronze, but I could have been a silver medalist. I learned from that and never made that same mistake again.